Hashtag catastrophe waitress. What if I told you that the same woman, the same face, the same build, the same expression, has appeared in verified news footage at 7 different catastrophic events, spanning 4 continents, across 18 years. That she was standing in the crowd when the towers fell. That she was captured on camera in the aftermath of the 2004 tsunami. That she was filmed watching Notre Dame burn. And that when a German news organization ran her face through military-grade facial recognition software in 2024, the system returned a 94.6% match across 4 of those appearances. She has never been identified. She has never come forward. No government has claimed her. No family has recognized her. She is, for all intents and purposes, no one. And yet she is always there. This is the investigation into the woman the internet calls the catastrophe waitress. And the deeper I went into this story, the less I wanted to find out what was at the bottom. Before we go any further, I need to establish something. This is not a creepypasta. This is not an urban legend dressed up as investigation. Every piece of footage I'm going to reference in this video is real, publicly accessible, and has been archived by multiple independent sources. The original theory was dismissed as pattern recognition, the human brain's tendency to see familiar faces where none exist. That was a perfectly reasonable explanation. It was, in fact, the explanation I believed when I first encountered this story 3 years ago. I don't believe it anymore. Let me show you why. The story begins, as so many modern mysteries do, on 4chan. In March of 2020, during the early weeks of global lockdown, an anonymous user on the board, the Paranormal Discussion Forum, posted a thread with the subject line, "Disaster Woman. Same face, every time." The post contained 7 screenshots, each pulled from different pieces of news footage spanning from September 2001 to April 2019. In each screenshot, the anonymous poster had circled a figure in the crowd. A woman. Dark hair, pulled back or partially covered. Medium build. Appearing to be somewhere between 30 and 50 years of age, though the resolution in some of the images made precise estimation difficult. The original poster offered no theory. No explanation. Just the images, and a single line of text beneath them, "I've been noticing her for 2 years. Tell me I'm wrong." The thread gained modest traction. A few users attempted reverse image searches. Others dismissed it as pareidolia, the well-documented psychological phenomenon where the human brain perceives meaningful patterns, particularly faces, in random or ambiguous visual stimuli. One commenter pointed out that a dark-haired woman of medium build is not exactly a rare specimen in a crowd of thousands. Another noted that disaster footage is typically low-resolution, shaky, and shot under extreme conditions, hardly the foundation for reliable facial comparison. All of these objections were valid. And for nearly 3 years, that's where the story stayed. A forgotten thread on a dying image board. A curiosity. A nothing. Then, in late 2023, a data journalist named Elias Wenger at the German outlet Der Tagesspiegel stumbled across an archived version of the thread while researching a piece on disaster tourism. Wenger was not a conspiracy theorist. He was not a paranormal enthusiast. He was a reporter who had covered the European migrant crisis, the AfD's rise in German politics, and the logistics of international humanitarian aid. By all accounts, he was exactly the kind of person who would have dismissed the thread entirely. Instead, something about the images nagged at him. He spent 3 weeks tracking down the highest resolution versions of the original footage. He contacted news agencies. He filed Freedom of Information requests. He reached out to videographers who had been on the ground at these events. And when he had assembled the best possible source material, he commissioned a facial recognition analysis from a Munich-based forensic technology firm that had previously worked with Europol and the German Federal Criminal Police. The results were published in a Tagesspiegel feature in February 2024. Across 4 of the 7 appearances, specifically, the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami footage shot in Khao Lat, Thailand, the 2010 Haiti earthquake aftermath filmed by a French camera crew in Port-au-Prince, the 2011 Fukushima disaster coverage from NHK World, and the 2019 Notre Dame fire filmed by a bystander and later acquired by France 24. The facial recognition system returned a composite match of 94.6%. To put that in context, law enforcement agencies in the European Union generally consider anything above 90% to be a probable match. Above 95% is considered near certain. The catastrophe waitress scored between those thresholds, high enough to be deeply significant, but just low enough to leave a sliver of doubt. The three remaining appearances, the September 11th footage, the 2005 London bombings, and the 2015 Tianjin explosions, were of insufficient resolution for the software to generate a reliable comparison. They were not ruled out. They simply could not be confirmed. And here's the detail that I keep coming back to, the one that transforms this from an interesting anomaly into something that genuinely unsettles me. The forensic firm's report included a note, a caveat, really, buried in the methodology section, stating that the four confirmed match images appeared to show a subject who had not aged appreciably across the 15-year span from 2004 to 2019. The analysts flagged this as unusual but offered no interpretation. They simply noted it and moved on. The internet did not move on. Within weeks of the Tagesspiegel piece, the catastrophe waitress became one of the most discussed unexplained phenomena of 2024. Reddit threads accumulated thousands of comments. YouTube analysis videos proliferated. The footage was examined frame by amateur and professional investigators alike. And as the story grew, so did the list of things that no one could adequately explain. Let me walk you through the 5 most disturbing details that emerged from the collective investigation. 1. She is never in the foreground. In every single piece of footage, across all 7 appearances, the woman is positioned in the midground or background of the shot. She is never the focus. She is never being interviewed. She is never interacting with emergency personnel, other survivors, or journalists. She is simply present, standing at a slight distance from the primary action, watching. This is consistent across footage shot by different crews, in different countries, under wildly different circumstances. She does not appear to be seeking attention. If anything, she appears to be avoiding it, but not quite successfully enough. 2. Her clothing is always contextually appropriate but nondescript. In the Thailand footage, she wears a light linen top consistent with tropical travel. In the Haiti footage, she wears a dust-covered blouse that suggests she was present during the collapse of structures. In Japan, she wears a dark jacket appropriate for March weather. At Notre Dame, she wears a spring coat. In no instance does she wear anything that would make her stand out. In no instance does she wear anything identifiable, no logos, no distinctive patterns, no jewelry visible at the available resolution. She dresses, every single time, like someone who belongs exactly where she is. 3. She appears within a specific time window. In each confirmed appearance, the woman is visible in footage captured between 4 and 18 hours after the initial disaster event. Not during the event itself. Not days later. In the immediate, chaotic aftermath, when the cameras have arrived, when the scope of the catastrophe is becoming clear, but before the scene has been fully secured or organized. This is the window of maximum disorder. Maximum confusion. And, not coincidentally, minimum accountability for who is and isn't supposed to be in the area. 4. She is always alone. In none of the footage does she appear to be accompanied by another person. She is not part of a group. She is not with a partner, a colleague, or a camera crew. Whatever she is doing at these disaster sites, she is doing it by herself. 5. And this is the one that I found most difficult to reconcile with any rational explanation. In 3 of the 4 confirmed match appearances, she is looking directly at the camera. Not at the disaster. Not at the victims. Not at the emergency response. At the camera. And her expression, in each of these instances, is the same. It is not shock. It is not grief. It is not curiosity. It is patience. I want to pause here and address something directly, because I know a significant portion of viewers are already formulating the rational explanation in their minds, and I think that explanation deserves serious consideration before we go any further. The most common debunking theory is that the catastrophe waitress is a disaster tourist, a well-documented phenomenon where individuals deliberately travel to the sites of catastrophes for psychological gratification. Disaster tourism is real. It is studied academically. There are people who chase hurricanes, who visit mass shooting sites, who collect memorabilia from plane crashes. It is a known, if deeply uncomfortable, facet of human behavior. And at first glance, this theory explains everything. A woman with means and mobility who is drawn to catastrophe. Who travels internationally to witness suffering firsthand. Who positions herself at the margins, watches, and then leaves. Disturbing, certainly. But human. Explicable. Mundane. But the theory has problems. Significant ones. The first problem is logistics. The 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami struck on December 26. The footage in which the woman appears was shot on December 27, in Khao Lak, Thailand, a coastal region that was, at that point, almost entirely cut off from outside access. Roads were destroyed. The airport in Phuket was overwhelmed. International aid workers with government authorization were struggling to reach the affected areas. The idea that a private individual, a tourist, arrived at that specific location within 24 hours of an unpredicted natural disaster strains plausibility. It does not break it, but it strains it. The second problem is the Haiti earthquake. Port-au-Prince in January 2010 was one of the most restricted, dangerous, and logistically inaccessible disaster zones in modern history. The airport was damaged. The roads were impassable. Armed gangs controlled large sections of the city. The footage containing the woman's apparent image was shot by a French television crew embedded with a military escort. Being in that location, at that time, as an unaffiliated civilian, would have required either extraordinary luck or extraordinary resourcefulness. The third problem is Fukushima. In March 2011, the area surrounding the Daiichi nuclear plant was subject to mandatory evacuation orders. The footage in question was shot within the exclusion zone by NHK journalists who had been granted specific, limited access by the Japanese government. The woman appears in the background of a shot filmed approximately 11 kilometers from the reactor complex. Civilians were not supposed to be there. It was, in the most literal sense, a restricted area contaminated with radioactive fallout. The disaster tourist theory requires us to believe that this woman not only traveled to 7 catastrophic events across 4 continents over 18 years, but that she repeatedly penetrated security cordons, evacuation zones, and restricted areas, sometimes within hours of the disaster, without ever being stopped, questioned, identified, or detained. It is possible. But I want you to sit with how unlikely it is. After the Tagesspiegel article, several independent researchers began attempting to trace the woman's identity through more conventional means. A French investigative podcast called Les Ombres, The Shadows, dedicated 3 episodes to the case in mid-2024, during which they interviewed 16 people who had been present at the Notre Dame fire on the evening of April 15, 2019. Of those 16, 3 remembered seeing a woman matching the general description. Their accounts were consistent in the broad strokes but differed in revealing ways. 3 witnesses said the same thing, that she was calm. Not calm in the way that shock sometimes presents, that glazed, dissociative stillness that follows overwhelming trauma. Calm in the way that someone is calm when they are exactly where they expected to be, doing exactly what they intended to do. One witness, a Parisian schoolteacher who had rushed to the scene after seeing smoke from her apartment, described the woman as watching the fire the way you would watch a film you've already seen. Another witness, a British tourist, said the woman looked like she was waiting for something, but couldn't articulate what that something might have been. The third witness, a retired French firefighter who had come to the scene out of professional instinct, said something that has stayed with me since I first heard it. He said, "She was standing apart from everyone else. Not far, maybe 10 meters. But there was a space around her. No one stood near her. I don't think anyone did it on purpose. I think people just didn't go near her. Like how animals avoid a certain part of a field and you don't know why until you find out something is buried there." None of the three witnesses had spoken to her. None had seen her arrive or leave. None could describe her face in detail beyond dark hair and maybe 40, maybe 50. It was as though she existed at the exact threshold of perception, visible enough to be noticed, but not distinct enough to be remembered. In July 2024, an open-source intelligence analyst who goes by the handle Meridian on Twitter published a thread that added an entirely new dimension to the investigation. Meridian had spent 4 months analyzing not the woman herself, but the cameras that had captured her. Specifically, Meridian examined the metadata, broadcast logs, and production records associated with each piece of footage in which the woman appeared. The findings were remarkable. In 6 of the 7 appearances, the footage containing the woman was not the primary footage used by the news outlet in question. It was secondary or tertiary footage, B-roll, establishing shots, incidental coverage that was filmed but never featured prominently in the final broadcast. In several cases, the footage had been archived and was only accessible through institutional requests or deep searches of news agency databases. The implication is staggering. The woman was not appearing in the footage that everyone saw. She was appearing in the footage that almost no one saw. The background shots. The throwaway material. The visual filler that editors use to bridge segments and establish atmosphere. She was present in the margins of the margins. The only reason she was ever noticed at all is that the original 4chan poster, whose identity remains unknown, apparently had access to or had systematically reviewed enormous quantities of raw, unedited disaster footage from multiple international news agencies spanning 2 decades. That fact, on its own, raises questions I don't have answers to. Who was the original poster? How did they gain access to that volume of archival footage? Why were they looking? And if they had been noticing her for 2 years, as they claimed in their original post, what prompted them to start looking in the first place? As of this recording, the original poster has never resurfaced. The thread was posted from a rotating IP address that traces to a VPN server in Romania. No further posts from the same device fingerprint have been identified on any archived 4chan board. Let me take you through the timeline now. All 7 appearances, in chronological order, with what we know and what we don't. September 11, 2001. New York City. The woman appears in footage shot by an amateur videographer on West Street, approximately 3 blocks from the World Trade Center complex. The footage was shot between 11 a.m. and 12:30 p.m., after both towers had collapsed. The woman is visible for approximately 4 seconds, standing near a debris-covered vehicle, looking south toward the dust cloud. The footage was donated to the 9/11 Memorial Museum's Audiovisual Archive in 2006 and was not publicly accessible until 2015. Resolution is poor. Facial recognition analysis was inconclusive. December 27, 2004. Khao Lak, Thailand. The woman appears in footage shot by a Swedish documentary crew that had been on holiday in the region when the tsunami struck. She is visible in 2 separate shots, approximately 40 minutes apart based on the crew's production logs. In the first shot, she is standing near a destroyed hotel structure. In the second, she is approximately 200 meters further inland, near a triage area established by Thai military personnel. Resolution is moderate. Facial recognition match, 94.1%. July 7, 2005. London, England. The woman appears in BBC News footage shot near the Edgware Road bombing site, approximately 2 hours after the explosion. She is visible for less than 3 seconds, partially obscured by a police cordon barrier. Dark hair. Dark jacket. She appears to be looking at the camera, but the brevity of the appearance and the low resolution make this uncertain. Facial recognition analysis was inconclusive. January 13, 2010. Port-au-Prince, Haiti. The woman appears in France. Footage shot in the Carrefour-Fuilis neighborhood, one of the most devastated areas of the city. She is standing in the mid-ground of a shot focused on rescue workers extracting a survivor from a collapsed building. She is not participating in the rescue. She is not visibly distressed. She is watching. Resolution is moderate. Facial recognition match, 95.3%, the highest of any appearance. March 14, 2011. Fukushima Prefecture, Japan. The woman appears in NHK World footage shot within the evacuation zone surrounding the Daiichi nuclear plant. She is visible in a wide shot of a damaged residential area, standing near a car that appears to have been displaced by the tsunami. She is the only civilian visible in the frame. Resolution is moderate. Facial recognition match, 93.8%. August 12, 2015. Tianjin, China. The woman appears in footage shot by a Chinese social media user approximately 6 hours after the catastrophic explosions at the Tianjin port chemical storage facility. She is visible in the background of a video originally posted to Weibo and later archived by several international news aggregators. She is standing on an overpass overlooking the blast site. Resolution is poor due to smoke and atmospheric distortion. Facial recognition analysis was inconclusive. April 15, 2019. Paris, France. The woman appears in bystander footage of the Notre Dame fire, approximately 4 hours after the blaze began. She is standing on the Pont de l'Archevêque, the bridge directly south of the cathedral, amid a crowd of hundreds. She is visible for approximately 11 seconds, the longest continuous appearance in any footage. She is looking at the camera. Resolution is high. Facial recognition match, 95.2%. 7 disasters. 4 continents. 18 years. For confirmed matches above 93%. 3 appearances of insufficient quality to confirm or deny. And across every single one, the same posture. The same distance from the primary scene. The same calm, watchful presence that 3 Parisian witnesses independently described as unsettling without being able to articulate precisely why. After the timeline was established and the facial recognition results were published, the theories proliferated. I want to address the most prominent ones, because each of them reveals something, not necessarily about the catastrophe waitress herself, but about the frameworks through which we try to make sense of the inexplicable. The intelligence operative theory. This is perhaps the most grounded of the proposed explanations. The idea is that the woman is an agent of some intelligence service, CIA, MI6, Mossad, FSB, or another entity entirely, who is deployed to major disaster sites for reconnaissance, damage assessment, or some other operational purpose. Disaster zones are, after all, environments of extreme geopolitical significance. They reveal infrastructure vulnerabilities. They test governmental response capabilities. They create power vacuums that can be exploited. An intelligence agency sending observers to catastrophic events is not just plausible, it's virtually certain that this happens regularly. The problem with this theory is that intelligence operatives are trained, above all else, to avoid detection. They don't appear in footage. They don't get caught on camera looking directly at the lens. And they certainly don't get caught on camera at 7 different events across 18 years in a way that allows a facial recognition system to identify them as the same person. If the catastrophe waitress is a spy, she is either spectacularly bad at her job or operating under protocols that are entirely foreign to any known intelligence doctrine. The crisis actor theory. I include this reluctantly, because the concept of crisis actors has been weaponized by conspiracy movements to deny the reality of mass shootings and other tragedies, causing incalculable harm to survivors and victims' families. I want to be absolutely clear, the events at which the catastrophe waitress appeared are real. The suffering was real. The deaths were real. The crisis actor theory, as applied to this case, does not suggest that the events were staged. Rather, it proposes that certain individuals are planted at disaster sites to influence media narratives, to be available for interviews, to express particular emotions on camera, to serve as representative survivors for editorial purposes. This theory does not hold up under scrutiny. The woman was never interviewed. She never spoke on camera. She never influenced any narrative. She was, in fact, invisible until a 4chan user pulled her from the background of footage that almost no one had watched. If she was planted to influence perception, she failed entirely. Unless her purpose was something other than influence. The doppelganger theory. The simplest explanation, it's not the same woman. It's multiple women of similar appearance, and the facial recognition match, while high, falls below the threshold of certainty. This is a valid objection. 94.6% is not 100%. The human face has approximately 80 nodal points that facial recognition systems use for comparison, and a 94.6% match means that a small but non-trivial number of those nodal points did not align. It is possible, it must be acknowledged as possible, that these are different women who happen to share an unusual degree of facial similarity. But the doppelganger theory has its own difficulties. The Munich forensic firm's analysis controlled for angle, lighting, resolution, and partial occlusion. The 94.6% composite score is not a raw comparison of two photographs taken under identical conditions, it is a weighted, adjusted score that accounts for the significant variability in the source material. The firm stated, in their report, that achieving a 94% adjusted match across footage of this quality and variability would be highly unusual for two different individuals. Not impossible, but highly unusual. And then there is the theory that no serious investigator has been willing to put their name to, but that pulses beneath the surface of every discussion I've read about the catastrophe waitress. The theory that has no evidentiary basis, that defies rational explanation, that belongs more to folklore and nightmare than to journalism. The theory that she knows. That she appears at these events not because she travels to them after they occur, but because she knows they are going to occur before they happen. That she is present in the aftermath because she was present before the beginning. That the 4 to 18 hour window in which she consistently appears is not the result of rapid travel, but of patient waiting. I am not proposing this theory. I am not endorsing it. I am telling you that it exists, and that it is the one that people keep coming back to, no matter how many times they dismiss it. There is something about the catastrophe waitress that resists rational framing, not because the rational explanations are inadequate, but because the emotional texture of the phenomenon exceeds what rationality can contain. She looks patient. That's what the witnesses said. She looks like she's watching a film she's already seen. And I don't know what to do with that. In September 2024, an additional piece of evidence surfaced that has received comparatively little attention but that I consider potentially the most significant element of the entire case. A Japanese researcher named Haruki Omura, who studies what he calls recurrent anomalous figures in mass media, essentially, people who appear repeatedly in unrelated news footage, published a paper in an open-access media studies journal in which he documented 23 historical cases of individuals appearing in disaster footage across multiple events. Most of these cases were resolved through identification: journalists, aid workers, military personnel, even a Red Cross volunteer who appeared at 11 different disasters over a 20-year career. But Omura's paper included a section on what he termed persistent unidentified figures, individuals who appeared repeatedly but could not be identified through any available means. And the catastrophe waitress, while the most prominent contemporary example, was not the only one. Omura documented a similar figure, a man, in this case, who appeared in newsreel footage at 4 separate disasters in the 1950s and 1960s, the 1953 North Sea flood in the Netherlands, the 1958 Munich air disaster, the 1963 Vajont Dam collapse in Italy, and the 1966 Aberfan disaster in Wales. Like the catastrophe waitress, this man was always in the background. Always alone. Always calm. He was never identified. Omura does not propose a supernatural explanation. He suggests that certain individuals may be psychologically compelled to travel to disaster sites and that their persistent anonymity may be a function of deliberate evasion combined with the inherent chaos of disaster environments. He calls them catastrophe pilgrims and frames their behavior as a variant of extreme compulsive disorder. But he includes a footnote, and I need you to understand that this is a footnote in an academic paper published in a peer-reviewed journal, in which he notes that among the persistent unidentified figures he studied, there is a consistent and unexplained pattern. They do not appear to age at a rate consistent with the time span of their appearances. The man from the 1950s and 60s, across 13 years of footage, showed no visible aging. The catastrophe waitress, across 15 years of footage, showed no visible aging. Omura does not comment further. He simply notes the observation and moves on. The footnote has been cited exactly twice, once in a German-language blog post about the catastrophe waitress, and once in a now-deleted Twitter thread. I found this footnote at 2 in the morning on a Wednesday, and I did not sleep for the rest of the night. Let me be honest with you about where I stand on this, because I think honesty is important when you're dealing with material that exists at the boundary between the documented and the inexplicable. I do not know what the catastrophe waitress is. I do not know if she is a person, a real, living, breathing human being with a passport and a bank account and a place she sleeps at night. I do not know if she is something else. I do not know if the facial recognition analysis is correct or if it is an artifact of insufficient data and overfitted algorithms. I do not know if Omura's observation about aging is meaningful or if it is a function of the low resolution and poor lighting conditions inherent to disaster footage. What I know is this. The footage is real. It has been verified by multiple independent sources. The facial recognition analysis was conducted by a reputable firm with law enforcement credentials. The witnesses in Paris described the same behavioral characteristics, calm, patience, separateness, without having been in contact with each other or with the broader catastrophe waitress narrative. The timeline is consistent. The behavioral pattern is consistent. The appearance window is consistent. Something is there. In the footage. In the margins. Whether it is a deeply disturbed human being engaged in the most extreme form of disaster tourism ever documented, or an intelligence operative whose operational security has failed in precisely the same way 7 times across 2 decades, or something that our current frameworks are not equipped to explain, I cannot tell you. But I can tell you that the next major disaster, the next earthquake, the next flood, the next fire, the next explosion, will be filmed. From dozens of angles, by dozens of cameras. And someone, somewhere, will pull up that footage and scan the backgrounds. The mid-ground. The margins. And they will look for her. Here's what keeps me up at night about this case, and I mean that literally. This is the thought that surfaces when the lights are off and the room is quiet and the rational part of my brain has gone to sleep. We found her because one anonymous person on 4chan was watching. One person, with access to archival footage and an eye for pattern. That person looked at thousands of hours of the worst moments in modern human history and noticed a face that kept appearing. A face that no one else had noticed. A face that had been there, in the footage, for years, sometimes decades, before anyone thought to look. She was in the September 11th footage for 14 years before anyone noticed. She was in the tsunami footage for 16 years. She was in the London bombing footage for 15 years. She was there, captured, preserved, archived, and invisible. Not because she was hidden, but because no one was looking. And here is the question that I cannot shake. If one anonymous person on one internet forum found this woman by reviewing disaster footage, what else is in that footage that no one has looked for? What else is standing in the background? What else is watching? The catastrophe waitress has not been seen, or at least, not identified, in any footage since the Notre Dame fire in April 2019. That's over 5 years. In that time, the world has experienced a global pandemic, the collapse of the Surfside condominium in Florida, the explosion in Beirut, the war in Ukraine, catastrophic earthquakes in Turkey and Morocco. If her pattern held, she should have been there. She should have been visible. But no confirmed sighting has been reported. There are three possible explanations for this. 1. She has stopped. Whatever compulsion or purpose drove her to these events has ceased. She has retired, died, or otherwise withdrawn from her pattern. 2. She has adapted. She knows, now, that she has been seen. The Tagesspiegel article, the Reddit threads, the YouTube analyses, she has become aware that people are looking for her, and she has adjusted her behavior. She is still there, at the margins of catastrophe, but she has learned to stand where the cameras cannot reach. She has moved from the background to the invisible. 3. We haven't found the footage yet. It's out there somewhere. On a hard drive. In an archive. On a server maintained by a news agency that hasn't digitized its recent coverage. In the cloud storage of a bystander who filmed the Beirut explosion and never posted the footage. In the body camera files of a Turkish rescue worker who was too busy saving lives to review what his camera captured. She's in the footage. We just haven't looked at the right frame yet. There's one more thing I want to leave you with. One detail that didn't make it into any of the major analyses, that I found only by reading through the raw comments on the original 4chan thread, the one from March 2020 that started everything. Near the bottom of the thread, posted approximately 6 hours after the original images, there is a reply from a different anonymous user. It reads, in its entirety. You shouldn't have posted this. It could mean anything. It could be a joke. It could be the standard paranoid posturing that characterizes anonymous image board culture. It could be someone role-playing, trying to add a veneer of danger to an interesting but ultimately harmless discussion. But the reply has a timestamp. And the IP trace, which another user apparently ran using a board scraping tool before the thread was archived, points to a VPN exit node. The same VPN exit node in Romania that the original poster used. The same device fingerprint. The original poster replied to their own thread, 6 hours later, with a warning. You shouldn't have posted this. As if, in the 6 hours between posting the images and posting the reply, they had learned something. Seen something. Understood something that changed their assessment of what they had done. Or as if someone else had accessed their device. The thread was archived the following day. No further posts were made. The original poster, as I mentioned, has never been identified and has never resurfaced on any platform. The catastrophe waitress remains unidentified. No law enforcement agency has publicly acknowledged investigating her. No intelligence service has claimed her. No journalist has found her. The Tagesspiegel article, for all its rigor, ends not with an answer but with a question. Omura's paper raises more mysteries than it resolves. The witnesses in Paris remember a feeling more than a face. She is out there. Or she was out there. Or she was never out there at all, and what the cameras captured was a coincidence so improbable that the human mind cannot accept it as random, and so we construct narratives, intelligence operatives, compulsive tourists, supernatural entities, to impose meaning on the meaningless. That's possible too. But here is what I keep coming back to. The same thought, over and over, like a loop. If she is real, if one woman was genuinely present at 7 catastrophic events across 4 continents over 18 years, then one of 2 things must be true. Either she is drawn to catastrophe, or catastrophe is drawn to her. And I don't know which possibility frightens me more. What do you think she is? What do you think explains the footage, the facial recognition match, the witnesses, the silence? Leave your theory below. Because I've been staring at this case for months, and I am no closer to an answer than the anonymous poster who started it all, and then told themselves they shouldn't have.